even veterinarians. The Georgia Pet Foundation provides statewide spay-neuter grants to organizations to help decrease pet overpopulation. Do your part to help. Purchase a Georgia Pet Foundation spay-neuter tag through your local tag office, with proceeds going to support spay-neuter efforts in Georgia. Buy a tag, save a life.
Hi everyone, it's Tim Cordier, and we are in the Inman Park Animal Hospital. This hospital, like the neighborhood that it's named after, is truly the jewel of our city. A culture of compassion and kindness. It's occupied by a team of clinicians and support staff who are absolutely dedicated to the welfare and well-being of the citizens of this neighborhood, as well as the four-legged family members. Well, the person who's responsible for the conduct of this the community and this hospital is with us here now, Dr. Kevin Fowler. Dr. Fowler, first of all, let me just say it's truly a pleasure to be with you, and I want to thank you for spending the time with us.
I want to thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure. Could you share with us your experience and history with this hospital?
Well, I purchased this hospital in 2001, and I've been here for 18 years now. And I recently sold it because I'm getting up in age, and I wanted to make sure that I could make a gradual movement from this hospital, but not leave my clients out in the cold.
Oh, that's very nice. Yeah. Well, you look great, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Who's getting up there in age.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Dr. Fowler, what inspired you to become a veterinarian?
Well, it really goes back to both of my parents. Their parents had farms, and my mother's parents had a dairy farm, and I would go out and watch the veterinarian come out to take care of the dairy cows. And then my dad's parents had a farm, but we had a lot of exotic animals, and I grew up taking care of them. And we had harpy eagles, golden eagles, peregrine falcons, ostrich, emu, zebra, giraffe. So we had a little bit of everything. But some of my best experiences was just going out and helping my granddad feed the animals, and even milking a beef cow for milk in the morning for our cereal. And I just absolutely love that. So that was my early memories of wanting to be a vet.
I gotcha. Yeah. So you grew up in Indiana, am I correct?
Well, I went to school in Indiana, but I grew up in New Orleans. My dad's a geologist.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So that's why you had exotic animals, because you were in New Orleans?
No, sir, that's not right. But we had exotic animals primarily because of my Uncle Jim. And we may talk about him in the...
Oh, absolutely. I think we should definitely bring up his legacy and the fact that you are carrying it through.
Yes,
am I correct?
That is correct.
Well, let's talk about your Uncle Jim.
Okay. Well, my Uncle Jim was co-host for Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom for many, many years, and they won several Emmys at the time. And I just grew up learning how to work with exotic animals with him, and so I felt very privileged to have grown up with such a wonderful human being. And his passion was educating people about the natural world and about how important it is for us to take care of the health and well-being of the natural world.
You know, with regards to veterinary services in our state, it's my understanding there's 159 counties in the state of Georgia. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe around 60 of these counties, over a third of them, do not have veterinary service.
That is correct.
Could we embark on this subject a little bit? And what are your feelings about it?
Well, it worries me because many of those counties that are underserved by veterinarians are also underserved by physicians. And it is something that is going to be very difficult to solve because, you know, the average veterinarian, when they graduate from vet school, is in debt or owes around $144,000.
Goodness gracious.
And when you go out to a lot of these outlying counties, you know, vets doing that type of thing in those counties just they make half the income that a veterinarian in the city does. And they have long hours, very odd hours, like getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning to take an emergency. And so when you combine a very low income with the debt that they have and the odd hours that they work, it's very hard to get people to go to those areas. And I think it's similar for why those areas are underserved by human medical professionals.
You know, one of the things that we were discussing a little earlier, and I find it really fascinating, is the oath that veterinarians take. Could we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the oath is very important to me. I've always taken it to heart, and but basically the oath states that we're to use our specialized skills and knowledge for the benefit of society and to protect and help animals and their welfare, and we're to prevent and relieve animal suffering, and we're to help with the conservation of animal resources, we're to promote the public health, and we're to advance medical knowledge. So all those things I think are very important. I value that statement, that oath as a veterinarian, and it's something that I always want to try to live up to.
Well, that leads me to another subject. You know, it's a very difficult subject to discuss, but there is an organization whose an acronym is NOMV, which stands for Not One More Vet. And in our research of doing this show, we discovered this organization, and I was astonished by the fact that the rate of suicide among veterinarians is just almost out the roof. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it has the highest rate of any professional occupation in the U.S. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's right now. It's about at 2 to 3.5 times the rate for other. Well, on average, in the whole U.S. population, and that's devastating. And it's become a crisis in veterinary medicine, and it's really worried a lot of people.
Absolutely. Do you think part of the reason for that is what you were mentioning earlier, the fact that vets leave school with such a high amount of debt, and then they go into these communities and there's a sense of isolation?
Yes, sir. That's exactly it. Or at least that's part of it. I don't know the whole story about it, but it certainly is the financial debt and the income that many of these vets get when they go into certain areas of the U.S. But also a lot of it has to do with compassion fatigue. The vets work very long hours, particularly my generation, we work very, very long hours. But veterinarians in general are very compassionate people, mm-hmm. and they want to do their best, and they want to help these animals. And that for me, they're not animals. They're living creatures that deserve our respect, our loyalty, our love. And so, many times I go home at night worrying about whether or not I did my best for that animal. And but it's a multitude of things that leads to the suicide rate, and it's even social media. Social media saying derogatory things about a veterinarian, like you didn't take good care of my pet or something along those lines, when that vet knows in his or her heart that they did the best they could for that pet. And so it's something that needs to be addressed. And Georgia, through the Georgia Veterinary Medical Association, has a program called the Employee Assistance Program that's free to DVM members of the Georgia Veterinary Medical Association and the employees of the hospital that they work at, that offers free programs for mental health counseling, for financial counseling, for legal counseling, and they stress things like stress resilience, how you respond to all the stress in your workplace. There's another one, Question, Persuade, and Refer program, which is an online training program for us to learn how to recognize the behaviors or causes of why people are considering suicide, the warning signs that those people might show you, how to talk to those people and persuade them to go get help, and how to find help for them. And then there's another one that I'm excited about that's called the Georgia Profession Health Program, that's only been available to physicians and other medical care providers. And that this program offers confidential referrals, and it monitors training programs or treatment programs. If there is a mental illness or a drug abuse problem, it helps to preserve their license while they're going through this program, so that when they successfully create or pass through this program and recover, they can go back to work. And just recently, the Georgia House and Senate passed a law that said veterinarians can now be part of the program.
Well, with regards to veterinarians and their education, I have always said that vets are smarter than medical doctors. And because this is why I say that, because you guys have to deal with patients that can't really talk to you. No. They can't express to you that they've got a pain in their side, or there's something going on. You have to kind of figure it out, almost like a detective.
That's correct. And my brother became an OBGYN, and my mom wanted me to become a pediatrician, but I felt like as a veterinarian I had the best of all worlds. I really enjoy people, I'm passionate about medicine, and I love animals, especially dogs. And my dogs, I even have a hard time talking about them as dogs. They are my girls. They are Brandy and Emmy,
Right,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're members of our family.
That's right.
That's for sure.
They are.
Well, what are some of your favorite things about being a vet? I mean, what's your favorite experience about being a vet and caring for animals, in particular dogs?
Well, in general, just helping when a dog comes in sick or hurting, to rectify that problem and reestablish that human-animal bond, send them back to their family where they can be happy and healthy, and that makes me feel very, very good, very happy. And sometimes a case will come in when you think that dog just is so debilitated and so sick that it's not going to make it. It's got a big abdomen, it's not eating, it's lethargic. You determine that it's got a splenic mass, and you tell the owner the odds that maybe it's cancerous, but maybe it's not. And they say, okay, and you go in and remove the spleen, and it's benign, it's not malignant, and the dog goes home wagging its tail. Those are the best times in my career.
Oh, that's great.
But those are the types of things that make me feel good. That I'm a veterinarian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you next, Dr. Fowler, what are the plans for the future?
Well, basically, I enjoy what I'm doing right now. I just absolutely love veterinary medicine and helping people and helping their animals and maintain that human-animal bond. And recently, my uncle died. And
I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences.
Yes. And so now I have the responsibility that I absolutely love, and that's taking care of the animals he has down on the farm. And so I go down to Albany, Georgia pretty much every weekend.
Do you take the girls with you?
I do take the girls, and they help me, and they do.
Wait a minute, how do they help you?
Well, basically they go in the truck with me out into the field, and they just hang their heads out the window. They don't bark at the animals, the elands and the zebra and the ostrich and the emu, and they just watch me. Feed them or take care of them, and that's how they help me. But so I just thoroughly enjoy doing that.
What kind of dogs are they?
They're yellow labs.
Oh, those are smart dogs.
And they truly are my companions. They go everywhere with me, and they are my companions. I don't say dog to them. I say my girls.
Yeah, well, they're members of your family.
Correct.
I mean, right?
Yes, sir.
That's one of the things I absolutely loved talking to you today, because one of the beautiful things that you brought up for me is the interconnection of all beings.
Yes, sir.
And I think that is just, it's such a strong message that we need to really project to humanity.
Yes, sir. Yes. And there is a movement called One Health that brings many different disciplines and integrates them, medical professionals, veterinarians, governmental organizations, to help maintain the optimal health of people, animals, and the environment. And one of the reasons is, back in 2011, the human population reached 7 billion people. And 75% of emerging or re-emerging infectious diseases in the world are zoonotic, meaning they're passed from animal to human, or they're vector-borne, like through mosquitoes or something. And so it's going to take all of us to use this concept of One Health to help deal with the maintain a good, healthy human-animal bond, healthy people, healthy animals, healthy environment.
Okay, well, that about wraps it up here, and I just want to thank Dr. Fowler for sharing his experience and his career with us. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you, Dr. Fowler. I also want to thank the staff here at Inman Park Animal Hospital. They've been absolutely wonderful and gracious with their hospitality. I'm going to pass it on to Blake, and he's going to share with you his next experience and interview. So take it away, Blake. Have fun.
Pet overpopulation is a national problem. Georgia has some of the highest euthanasia rates in the country, with an area the size of Maryland without basics like animal control, rescues, shelters, or even veterinarians. The Georgia Pet Foundation provides statewide spay-neuter grants to organizations to help decrease pet overpopulation. Do your part to help. Purchase a Georgia Pet Foundation spay-neuter tag through your local tag office, with proceeds going to support spay-neuter efforts in Georgia. Buy a tag, save a life.